The air was heavy with smoke and light. Beneath a silver dome that stretched across the alien city, thousands of Valari stood in silence. Their pale blue faces shimmered in the glow of floating orbs. In the center of the arena stood a human, bruised, unarmed, and chained. His name was Eli Kane, a space engineer from Earth, captured during a failed mission near the Valari border. The chains around his wrists pulsed with energy, glowing like veins of fire. Each pulse sent a wave of pain through his body. The crowd murmured in their strange melodic language, waiting for the trial of worth. To them, Eli was not a man. He was an experiment, a test to see if humans could survive the Valari's sacred combat ritual. High above, in a crystal balcony, 3 alien women watched. Their silver eyes reflected the arena's light. The eldest, Lyra, leaned forward, her expression calm but her hands trembling. Her sisters, Sira and Novi, stood behind her, whispering in fear. Lyra's voice, soft but steady, broke the silence. "He doesn't understand our customs," she said. "He will die before the first strike." Sira's eyes narrowed. "Then let him. Humans brought war to our borders. Let him be a message." Lyra turned her gaze back to the human in the arena. Something in his face and the defiance, the fire, reminded her of something ancient, something forbidden. Below, a massive gate opened with a metallic roar. A Valari warrior stepped out, a giant covered in gold armor holding a weapon made of plasma and bone. The crowd screamed his name, Taran Vek, the undefeated champion, the chains on Eli's wrists released, falling to the sand. He stumbled forward, breathing hard, his eyes scanning for escape. But the walls of the arena glowed with force field, and now there was no way out. A voice echoed from above, cold and sharp. "Human of Earth, you stand before the eyes of Valari justice. Fight or be erased." Eli clenched his fists. "I didn't come here to fight," he shouted. "I came for peace." The words meant nothing. The Valari did not understand English, and your mercy, the champion charged. Eli barely rolled aside as the plasma blade struck the ground, sending sparks flying. The crowd cheered. Dust rose, mixing with light and blood. Eli's heart raced. He was fast, but not fast enough to fight a trained alien soldier. Still, he refused to die on his knees. Grabbing a broken piece of chain, Eli swung it with all his strength. It hit the Valari's armor, leaving only a scratch, but it made the warrior pause. The human fought with fury, not for victory, but for meaning. From the balcony, Lyra felt her pulse quicken. Each strike, each desperate move pulled her closer to the edge. She could feel something, an ancient energy stirring, connecting her spirit to his. When Taran Vek lifted his weapon for the final blow, Eli grabbed the plasma blade with his bare hands. Pain seared his skin, but he held on, forcing the weapon to twist. With a burst of strength, he drove it into the sand. The energy exploded, throwing both men apart. Silence filled the arena. Eli lay on the ground, smoke rising from his hands. The Valari warrior didn't move. The crowd waited. Then slowly, Eli pushed himself up. His vision blurred, blood dripping from his palms. But he stood. He raised his head toward the alien queen's balcony and met Lyra's eyes. Time stopped. Her heart raced. The legends spoke of a stranger of flame, a human who would defy the will of the Valari. Was this him? Could it be? Then, before the guards could move, Lyra did something no Valari noble had done in centuries. She rose from her seat, pressed her hand against the energy barrier, and called out, her voice trembling, echoing through the dome. "Claim me!" The entire arena froze. The words hit like thunder. To the Valari, those words carried sacred meaning. A claim wasn't ownership, it was a bond of protection, a link of fate. For a noble to say those words to a human was unthinkable. Eli stared up, confused. "What did you say?" Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. "If you don't claim me, they will take me. And you will die," the guards shouted, alarms flared. Sira grabbed her sister's arm.
"Lyra, stop!"
"You'll doom us all." But Lyra didn't stop. She looked only at the human, chained and bleeding below her. "Say it," she whispered. "Say you claim me." Eli hesitated, trying to understand. He could see soldiers surrounding the arena, weapons raised. He didn't know what claiming meant, but he understood danger and courage. He raised his voice, broken but clear. "Fine, I claim you." The lights of the arena flickered. The force fields around the ring shattered like glass. The crowd screamed. In that moment, something ancient awakened, a pulse deep within the planet. The air shimmered as the arena began to collapse. Lyra and her sisters ran toward the lower gates. Soldiers rushed to capture them, but Lyra's command crystal opened a hidden tunnel beneath the sand. Eli stumbled forward, and Lyra reached him. Her hand touched his burned wrist, soft, glowing with strange warmth. "You're not my prisoner now," she said. "You're my protector." He looked at her, stunned, still catching his breath. "Protector? From what?" The sound of boots echoed behind them. The sisters appeared at the tunnel entrance. Sierra's face was pale. "From everyone." The gate behind them exploded. Alarms screamed across the arena, and as the three sisters pulled Eli into the glowing tunnels below, the world above them burned in blue fire. The story of the human who claimed a Valari had begun. The tunnels were dark and narrow, glowing faintly with blue light that ran through the crystal walls like living veins. Eli followed the sisters through the twisting passages, his breathing rough and shallow. The sound of soldiers shouting above echoed faintly behind them. Lyra's hand still gripped his wrist, the same hand that had saved him from certain death. Her skin was warm and strangely luminous, as if energy flowed beneath it. She moved quickly, her long silver hair catching the dim light as they ran. "Where are we going?" Eli gasped. "Somewhere safe," Lyra said. "At least for now." Her sister Sierra turned sharply, her eyes filled with anger. "Safe? You just broke the royal law. Do you even understand what you've done, Lyra?" Lyra didn't answer. She only looked at Eli, the human who had claimed her without understanding what that word meant. They reached a round chamber lit by a glowing crystal in the ceiling. The walls were carved with ancient Valari symbols. Lyra stopped and faced him. "Listen carefully, human," she said. "When you spoke the words, 'I claim you,' you started the ancient rite. Our bond is sealed by the code of the Valari." Eli frowned. "A bond? What does that mean?" Sierra stepped closer, her tone sharp. "It means you are now bound to her. By blood, by law, and by fate. The council will hunt you. The queen herself will not forgive this." Eli's head spun. "All I did was save her life." Lyra smiled softly, sadness flickering in her eyes. "And in doing so, you tied your life to mine." The youngest sister, Novi, stepped forward shyly. Her voice was quiet but sincere. "The claiming right is more than words. It's protection and connection. Now if one of you dies, both your souls may fade." Eli stared at Lyra in shock. "Wait, you mean if I die, you die too?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes," he laughed bitterly. "Great, that's just what I needed. Interstellar marriage by accident." Lyra tilted her head, confused. "Marriage?" Eli sighed. "Never mind." The sisters looked at each other. Sierra crossed her arms, her face cold. "We should leave him. He's only human. He doesn't understand our ways. He'll get us all killed." Lyra stepped between them. "No, he risked his life in the arena. He's not like the others. The prophecy said the stranger of flame would come when our world stands on the edge of ruin." Sierra's expression darkened. "You believe in myths?" "I believe in what I saw," Lyra said firmly. "He faced Taran Vek without fear." Eli rubbed his temples, feeling lost. "All right, someone please tell me, what prophecy?" Lyra turned toward the glowing crystal in the ceiling. "Long ago, our ancestors wrote of a human who would defy the laws of the Valari. His courage would awaken something old, something powerful enough to change our fate." Before Eli could reply, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. From the distance came the sound of heavy machines. The Queen's hunters. Sierra drew a small glowing blade from her belt. "They've found us." Lyra looked at Eli. "We have no time. Follow us." They ran down another corridor that opened into a vast underground dock. A small ship rested on a platform, humming with blue light. Sierra jumped into the pilot's seat, pressing symbols on the control panel. The ship came alive, engines humming like thunder. "Get in," she shouted. Eli hesitated. "This thing even fly?" Lyra smiled faintly. "You'll find out." The ship lifted just as a blast hit the dock doors behind them. Fire filled the tunnel. The sisters shouted commands in their language while Eli held on tightly as the craft sped through a glowing tunnel toward the surface. As they burst into open sky, Eli looked back. The Valari city was burning. Dozens of ships chased them through the purple clouds. Sierra cursed. "The Royal Fleet! We can't outrun them." Lyra touched the control crystal beside her. "Then we vanish," she whispered something in her language. The ship shimmered, bending light around it. In seconds, it disappeared from view. Eli stared in disbelief. "You turned us invisible?" Lyra looked at him, her expression calm but tired. For now. But they'll never stop hunting us. Not until this bond is broken. Or fulfilled. Eli met her eyes. And what happens if it's fulfilled? She held his gaze for a long moment, her silver eyes glowing faintly. Then human, she said softly, you become part of the Valari, body and soul. The ship disappeared into the storm, leaving the burning city behind. The rite had begun. The desert stretched endlessly under a violet sky. Twin moons glowed above like watchful eyes. The small Valari skimmer darted across the dunes, leaving trails of golden dust behind it. Inside, the hum of the engines filled the silence. Eli sat near the window, staring at the strange horizon. The sands glowed faintly, pulsing with soft light as if the planet itself was alive. He could still feel the heat of the arena on his skin, the memory of fire and fear still fresh. Lyra sat beside him, her hands resting on the control crystal, eyes fixed on the storm forming ahead. Her sisters Sira and Novi worked at the back of the skimmer, adjusting small energy modules that kept the ship cloaked from the Valari scanners. For a long time, no one spoke. Finally, Eli broke the silence. So, where are we even going? Sira looked over her shoulder, her tone sharp as always, away from the Queen's reach. That's all you need to know, Eli frowned. You could at least try saying thank you. I did just risk my life back there. Sira's eyes flashed with irritation. You risked it without understanding what you were doing. Before Eli could answer, Lyra placed her hand gently on his arm. Her voice was soft. She doesn't mean to sound cruel. Fear makes her harsh. Eli nodded slightly, watching her face in the dim light. You keep saying this claiming right bonded us. But what does it really mean? Lyra hesitated. Her gaze shifted toward the window, where lightning began to dance across the sandstorm ahead. It means our spirits are linked. You can feel when I'm in danger, and I can feel when you are. If one of us dies. She paused, her voice breaking a little. The other fades. Eli looked down, trying to hide the weight in his eyes. Then I guess we'd better keep each other alive. A small smile touched her lips. Yes, we must. The skimmer shook violently as it entered the storm. The sky turned dark orange and wind howled around them. Sparks of glowing sand hit the windows like stars. Novi held onto the controls, shouting, The storm is charging with plasma. I can't keep the cloak stable. Sira's fingers moved quickly over the navigation pad. There's a canyon ahead. If we dive low, we might lose the trackers. Lyra nodded. Do it. The skimmer dropped suddenly, cutting through the electric air like a falling star. The engines roared and blue lightning cracked across the sky. Behind them, faint shadows appeared. 3 Valari hunter ships chasing through the storm. Eli could feel the vibration in his chest. They're still on us, Sira cursed. Their scanners are too strong. Then Lyra did something unexpected. She closed her eyes and placed both hands on the glowing control stone in front of her. Her voice rose in a low chant, ancient and powerful. The ship's lights flickered, the walls shimmered, and the air grew heavy with energy. Novi gasped.
Lyra, what are you doing?
Lyra's voice trembled as she spoke. Calling the bond. Trust me. Eli felt warmth spread through his chest. The same glow as in her hands. His pulse matched hers. The ship responded, its engines howling like a living creature. In a burst of light, the skimmer shot downward into the canyon just as the hunter ships fired. Explosions thundered behind them. The skimmer plunged into darkness, the storm's roar fading above. For a few moments, only silence remained. Eli opened his eyes slowly. We're alive? Lyra leaned back, exhausted, her skin still glowing faintly. For now. The canyon stretched out like a scar across the planet, lit by rivers of glowing sand. The skimmer drifted low, hidden beneath the storm's reach. Sira checked the scanner. We've lost them. For now we rest. Eli looked at Lyra, her head resting against the control panel. He spoke quietly. You could have died doing that. Lyra smiled weakly. Maybe, but the bond protected us both. I can feel it now. Stronger than before. The air between them was quiet, but heavy with something unspoken, fear, relief, and a strange connection that neither of them fully understood. Sira broke the silence, her voice steady but tense. You don't understand what's coming, human. You didn't just claim one of us. You claimed our fate. Eli looked at her, confused. What does that mean? Sira turned away, eyes dark. You'll see soon enough. Outside, lightning flashed across the sky again. The storm raged on above the canyon, a storm that had just begun not only in the skies but in their destinies. The night was quiet after the storm. The sky above the canyon shimmered with twin moons, their silver light spilling across the dunes. The Valari skimmer glided slowly now, almost out of energy. The engines hummed weakly, like a heartbeat fading after battle. Eli stood near the ramp, feeling the dry wind brush against his face. His body ached, but his mind stayed restless. He looked out at the horizon and saw something strange in the distance. Half buried beneath the sand was a city made of glowing stone. "Lyra," he called softly. "What is that?" She joined him at the edge, her silver eyes reflecting the faint blue ruins. For a moment she didn't speak. When she did, her voice carried both fear and reverence. "That is Arcanus, the first city of the Valari." Eli frowned. "It looks abandoned." "It is," she whispered. "Abandoned, but not dead." Sira came forward, shaking her head. "We can't go there. The Queen forbade anyone from entering those ruins. The energy there is unstable." Lyra turned to her sister, her tone calm but firm. "The Queen fears what she doesn't understand. Arcanus holds answers, about us, about the bond." Eli looked between them. "If that place can help us survive, I'm in." Sira sighed, clearly against the idea, but she followed. Novi pressed her hands to the skimmer's controls, landing the small ship near the ruins. The sand beneath them glowed faintly as they stepped out, boots sinking into the soft dust. The city before them rose like a dream from another age. Towers carved from crystal leaned at odd angles, half buried by time. Strange symbols pulsed faintly along the walls, responding to their presence. Eli ran his hand along one of the walls. It was warm, alive somehow. "This place feels awake," Lyra nodded. "The Valari built it before the Great Divide, when we lived in harmony with the energy of the stars. The knowledge buried here was lost after the Queen seized power. As they moved deeper into the ruins, the air grew heavy with energy. A low hum vibrated through the ground. Dust rose and shimmered like fireflies in the dim light. Novi's voice trembled. "I can feel it. The city knows we're here." Eli's instincts tensed. "That's not comforting." They entered a wide hall lined with stone pillars, each one carved with spirals and faces of long-forgotten kings. In the center of the room stood a tall, broken statue of a Valari woman, holding a sphere of light. Lyra approached it slowly. "This is the statue of the first queen, the mother of all Valari bloodlines. It is said she connected her spirit to the stars to protect our kind." Eli watched her trace her fingers along the statue's cracked surface. "And what does that have to do with us?" Lyra's voice lowered to a whisper. "The first queen spoke of a time when the Valari's heart would darken. She said a human, a stranger of flame, would come to remind us what love and mercy mean." Sira scoffed. "Old myths. They were never meant to be real." But Lyra didn't argue. Instead, she turned to Eli. Her eyes glowed faintly under the blue light. "Yet here you are." Before Eli could respond, the floor beneath them rumbled. The statue's sphere lit up, flooding the chamber with blinding light. Energy shot through the walls, racing across the ruins like lightning. Novi cried out, "Lyra! What's happening?" Lyra stepped back, shielding her eyes. "The city is responding to the bond to us." Eli felt warmth in his chest again. The same energy that linked him to her. His pulse quickened. The light from the sphere wrapped around them both, swirling like ribbons of fire. Then a voice echoed through the hall. Soft, ancient, neither male nor female. "The bond of flame has been renewed. The blood of stars and the heart of man shall rise together once more." The ground shook violently. Sira pulled Novi toward the exit. "We have to get out." Eli grabbed Lyra's hand as the floor cracked beneath them. The statue began to crumble, but its sphere remained floating in midair, glowing brighter by the second. Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "Eli, it's giving us a choice." "A choice?" he shouted over the rumble. "To awaken the power, or let it die with us." Without thinking, Eli reached out and touched the sphere. Light exploded around them, searing, endless, blinding. The sound of the collapsing city vanished into silence. When the light faded, the ruins were still. The others opened their eyes slowly. The statue was gone. In its place stood a massive circular doorway, carved with symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Lyra's face was pale but filled with awe. "The city has accepted you, Eli Kane. You've been marked by the Valari." Eli stared at the glowing doorway. Marked for what? Lyra looked at him quietly, her expression unreadable. For destiny, or destruction. The wind howled softly through the ruins, carrying the echo of the ancient voice. The bond of flame will either save the stars, or burn them. The glowing doorway hummed like a living heart. Light pulsed through the air in slow waves, brushing across their faces. The ruins of Arcanus no longer looked dead. They breathed, whispering with ancient energy. Eli stood before the doorway, still trying to understand what had happened. His hand still tingled where he had touched the glowing sphere. What is this place really? He asked softly. Lyra stepped closer, her expression serious now. It's more than a city. It's the cradle of our kind. Every Valari queen, every leader was born through the power that lies beneath this ground. Sierra moved beside her, arms folded. And that's exactly why we should leave. The Queen's hunters will come here. They always do when someone disturbs the old power. But Lyra shook her head. They won't find us yet. Arcanus hides those who are chosen. Eli frowned. Chosen for what? Sierra's eyes flashed. Chosen to carry a curse. The air grew tense. Lyra looked at her sister, not with anger but sadness. He deserves to know the truth, Sierra. Keeping it hidden will only destroy us all. Novi looked frightened but nodded. It's time. Eli crossed his arms. The truth about what? Lyra took a deep breath. Her voice trembled as she began to speak. We are not like other Valari, Eli. The Queen calls us her daughters, but we were not born. We were created, Eli blinked. Created, you mean artificial? Sierra looked away, her voice sharp with pain. Designed. Built in the hidden chambers of the royal labs. The Queen feared death. She wanted perfect heirs, copies of her blood but without her flaws. So she made us. But we are not her daughters. We are her replacements. Eli's chest tightened. So your experiments? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes. The Queen used ancient Valari energy mixed with starborn material. The same energy that now flows through this city. We were meant to be her successors, her tools to rule the galaxy. But something went wrong, Sierra added bitterly. Lyra was born with emotion. With compassion. The Queen saw it as weakness. Lyra's voice softened. I was meant to obey, but I wanted to choose. Eli looked at her closely. And the claim. The bond between us. Lyra hesitated. It changed everything. The bond should have only linked Valari to Valari. But you, a human that survived it, you didn't just claim me, Eli. You connected to the same energy that created us. Eli shook his head in disbelief. You mean I'm part of this now? Yes, Lyra said quietly. The energy recognizes you. It sees you as one of its own. Sierra stepped forward. Which means the Queen will see you as a threat. Before Eli could answer, the ground shivered again. The doorway behind them flared with light. Strange holographic shapes appeared in the air, patterns of stars and symbols twisting in motion. Novi gasped. It's showing us something. They watched as the light formed into an image. A Valari queen sitting on a throne of crystal surrounded by fire. Her face looked almost human. Her eyes burned with gold light. Lyra's voice shook. That's her. The first queen, the one who made us. Eli took a step closer. What's she doing? The hologram's eyes turned toward them. A voice calm and echoing filled the hall. 3 of one blood, 3 hearts born of light. The bond you've shared with the stranger will decide the fate of the Valari. Protect him, or perish with him. The image vanished, leaving silence behind. Eli looked around, his voice low. Protect me? From who? Sierra answered coldly. From her. She pointed toward the sky. The Queen will come herself now. She won't stop until the bond is broken, or you're both dead. Lyra turned to Eli. Then we must reach the heart of Arcanus before she does. There's a way to control the energy, to use it to end her reign. Eli frowned. And if we can't? Lyra met his eyes. Then this world burns. The silence that followed was heavy. Even the ruins seemed to hold their breath. Finally, Sierra exhaled, her tone softer than before. If you die, Lyra dies too. So I'll fight. Not for you, human, but for her. Eli nodded, determination hardening in his face. Then we fight together. Novi's small voice broke the tension. The Queen's signal. It's getting closer. Lyra looked toward the glowing doorway. Then we move now. The light from the ruins dimmed as they stepped forward, vanishing into the dark heart of the ancient city. unaware that the Queen's fleet had already entered the skies above them. The storm of destiny was on its way. The first light of dawn spilled across the ruins of Arcanis. Dust floated in the air like golden smoke. Inside the ancient hall, Eli and the sisters prepared for what was coming. Their skimmer stood on the cracked floor, powered up, and ready to launch. The hum of its engines echoed softly through the chamber. Lyra tightened the straps on her wrist gauntlets, her face calm but her hands shaking. "The Queen's ships are near," she said. "I can feel her presence." Sira stood beside her, checking her plasma blade. "You always could." "You share her blood?" Lyra didn't answer. Her eyes were distant, as if listening to a voice only she could hear. The faint light from the ruins reflected in her silver eyes. Eli walked toward them, his shirt torn, his face smeared with dust and exhaustion. "If she's really coming," he said, "then what's the plan?" Lyra turned to him. "We reach the heart of Arcanis, the control core buried beneath these ruins. It can bend energy itself. If I connect with it, I might stop her fleet before it reaches us." Eli frowned. "And what happens to you?" She smiled faintly. "It doesn't matter as long as it saves us." Sira's voice rose sharply. "No, that's what she wants, and to see you sacrifice yourself like a pawn." Lyra's tone was soft. "If one life can save millions, I'll give it." The silence between them felt heavy. Then a sudden tremor shook the ground. The sky outside turned red. Novi ran in from the outer corridor, her eyes wide with fear. "They're here!" Through the cracks in the walls, they saw the Queen's fleet descending, sleek silver warships glowing with blue energy. The sound of engines roared across the desert. Sira cursed under her breath. "There's too many. We can't fight them all." Lyra stepped toward the door. "We don't have to. We only have to reach the heart." Eli followed her as they ran through the narrow tunnels of Arcanis. The walls glowed brighter the deeper they went. Symbols on the stone pulsed in rhythm with Lyra's heartbeat. Finally, they entered a vast chamber. At its center floated a sphere of golden light, surrounded by rings of crystal slowly turning in the air. "The heart," Lyra whispered. "It's alive." Eli stared at it in awe. "What do you have to do?" "I must merge with it," she said. "My blood will connect to the old energy. It will recognize the Valari line." Sira grabbed her arm. "No, Lyra. If you merge with it, you'll lose yourself." "You won't come back," Lyra smiled softly. "Then maybe I was never meant to." But before she could move, a blast hit the chamber wall. The floor cracked. Dust exploded in the air. Eli turned and froze. At the entrance stood the Valari Queen. Her armor shimmered like liquid gold. Her eyes burned with cold fire. She stepped forward slowly, her voice echoing through the hall. "My daughters. High failures." Sira's grip tightened on her blade. "We're not your daughters," the Queen smiled coldly. "No? You carry my blood, my code, my perfection, and yet you tainted it by binding yourselves to a human." Her gaze shifted to Eli. "You should not exist in my world, human. You are a spark in a storm you cannot understand." Eli stood his ground. "Maybe, but your daughters deserve to be free." The Queen raised her hand. The air around Eli crackled. Pain shot through his body. He fell to his knees, gasping. Lyra cried out, "Stop, you'll kill him!" The Queen's voice softened, almost mocking. "He's already dying, Lyra. The bond drains him." "You can save him. If you break it," Lyra froze. "Break it?" "Say the words," the Queen whispered. "Reject the bond, and he will live. Refuse, and he will die with you." Tears filled Lyra's eyes. She looked at Eli, who struggled to speak. "Don't listen to her," he said weakly. "Don't break it." Lyra's hand shook. The Queen stepped closer. "Choose, child. Love or life." For a heartbeat, the chamber was silent. Only the hum of the heart echoed. Then Lyra whispered, "I choose both." She ran forward and pressed her palms to the golden sphere. The heart erupted with light, blinding and pure. Energy poured through her body, lifting her into the air. The Queen screamed as the power surged outward, tearing through the chamber walls. Sira grabbed Novi and shielded her. Eli crawled toward Lyra, shouting her name. But the light consumed everything. The last thing he saw was her face, glowing like a star, as the ruins of Arcanis exploded around them. Silence followed the explosion. The ancient city of Arcanis was gone and buried under dust, crystal, and fire. The golden light that had filled the sky slowly faded. leaving only the soft glow of dawn breaking over the dunes. High above the desert, a single small ship drifted through the thin clouds. Its hull was cracked and scorched, but still alive. Inside, the hum of energy pulsed like a quiet heartbeat. Eli Kane opened his eyes. His body ached, his head pounded, but he was alive. For a moment, he didn't remember how. Then flashes came back. The Queen's power, Lyra's scream, the blinding light. He sat up weakly, looking around. Lyra, Sira, Novi? Only silence answered him. The cockpit was empty, bathed in golden light from the rising suns. He touched his chest. His heart beat steady, but there was a warmth inside, not human, not mechanical. Something living. Then he heard it. A soft voice, not from outside, but from within the ship itself. Eli, you made it. He froze. Lyra, the voice came again, warm and calm. Yes and no. We're still here, all of us. The control panels flickered with faint blue light. The symbols on the glass glowed like eyes. He looked around, realizing the ship was alive, connected to something greater. The heart of Arcanus merged with us, Lyra's voice said gently. It saved you. By becoming one with me. With us. Eli stood slowly, touching the glowing wall. You mean... You're part of the ship? We are, came Sira's voice, softer now, full of peace. The heart needed form. We gave it ours. Novi's light laughter echoed faintly. We didn't vanish, Eli. We changed. He swallowed hard, his throat tight. So you're alive? In a way, Lyra whispered. We exist as energy now. But our minds, our feelings, and they remain. We guide the ship. And we will guide you. Eli closed his eyes. I thought I lost you. You didn't, Lyra said softly. You claimed us. Remember? He laughed quietly, though his voice trembled. Yeah, I remember. Outside the window, the wreckage of the Queen's fleet floated above the dunes, silent, burning wrecks of silver metal. The explosion from the heart had ended the war. The Queen was gone. Lyra's voice grew distant, like a whisper carried by wind. The Queen's empire has fallen, but others will rise. You must take what we were and make it better. Eli looked at the horizon. You talk like I know how to fix a galaxy. You do, Lyra said. You already did. You showed us mercy. The sunlight glimmered across the sand below, painting the world gold. The skimmer's wings unfolded, shining faintly with blue veins of energy. The same energy that once flowed through the sisters. He sat in the pilot's chair. So, what happens now? Now, Lyra said, her voice filled with warmth. We go where no Valari or human has gone before. Eli smiled faintly. Together? Always. He placed his hands on the controls. The ship responded instantly, as if feeling his touch. The engines hummed with life and golden light surrounded the cockpit. The skimmer lifted higher into the bright morning sky. As it rose through the clouds, the stars became visible. Faint, distant, endless. Eli could almost feel Lyra's presence beside him, like a warm light against his heart. Eli, she whispered. Do you see that? He followed her voice, looking toward a small glowing point in the distance, a newborn star burning brighter than the rest. That's us, Lyra said softly. The bond reborn, a promise to the universe that even in darkness light will find a way. Eli watched the star shimmer, his eyes wet with quiet emotion. Then let's make it shine. The ship turned toward the new light, its engines glowing like twin suns. The desert world below grew smaller and smaller, until it was just another point among the stars. For a long time, nothing but silence filled the cockpit. Peaceful, endless. Then Lyra's voice came once more, faint but smiling. You claimed us, Eli Kane, and now we claim the stars with you. The ship vanished into the horizon, leaving behind the ruins of a dead empire and the birth of a new legend. A legend whispered across galaxies. The human who loved beyond species, and the sisters who became the dawn of a new star.